Okay, so first of all, I'm very excited to be here today. I flew all the way from Tel Aviv to be here, and there are many people from all over the world here, from Australia. We have people from Spain and from all over Europe, and I'm very excited that all of you are here today to hear about a very important topic, in my opinion, that I think would be part of every aspect of our life. If it's not happening today, it will happen in the near future, which is generative AI. And I have a question. So how many people of you have watched the Barbie movie? Raise your hand if you watched the Barbie movie. Okay. How many of you have watched the Oppenheimer movie? Oh, okay, so we have people that watched both. How many of you have used an AI tool every day in the last 6 months, like ChatGPT? Raise your hand. Okay, so that's good. And the reason I ask is because I'm bombarded right now with information about everything that is happening with generative AI, and I came here today to do some order. I did around 300 hours worth of research, experimenting with this type of tools with my clients, and today I'm here to share with you the findings and how we could use AI in our UX process today. Sounds good? Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I have a confession to make. I made this presentation yesterday, so it's not really yesterday. It's something around last week. I had to submit it. So last week I've made it, and the reason I've made it in the last moment, in addition to the fact that I'm a serial procrastinator and I tend to procrastinate everything, is because everything is changing by the day. So let me give you an example why things are changing by the day. I just read this morning about this new tool named Merlin. That's the name of that tool. And that tool integrates in our user interviews and give us AI insights from our user interviews live. And that tool was just getting some hype today. So all of the different tools, all of the different processes are changing by the day, and it's very difficult to keep track on that. And that's what made me procrastinate everything and make sure that I will do things on the last moment. So in 2004, there was this episode in South Park. Do we have South Park fans over here? Raise your hand. Okay, that's good. So we have great pop references here. So 2004, we had this episode about these people that are coming from the future. And those people basically are doing all of the labor very fast and very cheap. And that's why they're taking all of the people of South Park work. And there's a very famous quote from that episode that is highly quotable in a lot of South Park memes, which is, "They took our jobs." And like many people are saying similar things about AI today. So 40% of workers will have to reskill in the next 3 years due to AI. That's an IBM study that was published last week. And Disney, Netflix go on an AI hiring spree. So basically most companies today, when they hire and they try to be a bit more efficient, they look for people that understand how to work with AI tools. ChatGPT, Midjourney, Cloud, and there are many, many different tools. By the way, I am going to share with you these slides. So I'm going to talk today about a lot of processes, a lot of different tools, and I want you to know that a lot of different methodologies to design your prompts when you speak with AI. So I want you to remember, you don't have to remember all of it. I can share with you the slides, that's not a problem. Just try to be focused on the main message, okay? Not on the exact tool or the exact prompt that I've used, because It's going to be saturated with information and very difficult to track. So is AI going to take over our jobs? I don't think so. But for example, let's step back real quick and see what are the different responsibilities of people that are working in product teams, okay? So let's talk about my favorite UX writers. So by the way, all of the illustrations in these slides were made by artificial intelligence as well and took more or less 10 seconds to generate. So this is our UX writer, by the way. So, and these are the responsibilities, which is a great bridge from Katrina's talk about the different responsibilities of the UX writer. They do UX writing, content design, which is arguably the same thing, write microcopy, which is the words that we have on the digital interface, product writing, this is also one way to call it, writing notifications, error message, and more, and obviously also design user flows, and so on. So that's the UX writers. UX research, they do user interviews, usability testing, surveys, building personas, journey mapping, and they do raw data analysis. Okay, that's our user researcher, a huge pile of books. We have the UX designer. They're building and scaling design systems, wireframes and prototyping. They do visual design and branding, interaction design. They're finding stock images, illustrations, building some visual language to the products that they've built, making it scalable products. So that's the UX designer. Product managers, product roadmap planning, feature prioritization, market analysis and strategy, collaboration with development teams, customer feedback and analysis. And we have the front devs, responsive design, implementation, cross-browser compatibility, performance optimization, and more. So this is our developer. And AI can do all of the above, more or less. Okay, so it's not that AI can do all of it today, but it can do some of it today. And in the near future, we will see way more AI tools doing the user research for us, doing the writing for us, doing even the design for us. Okay? So what can we say about that? They took our jobs, right? No. Some of you might feel like the guy on the left, anxious, feeling depression. The machines are going to take over, destroy us. On the right, if you're the person on the right, you might think, wait, I can go to the beach, I don't have any more work to do. So AI is not taking our job, it's changing our jobs. And it's our responsibility, just like in that IBM research, to learn how to work with this type of tools. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. That was my intro. So my name is Yuval, I'm the founder and the CEO of the UX Writing Hub. I'm building this new initiative named the AI Makers Lab, which is focused slightly a bit more about making stuff with AI. And I'm hosting a podcast named Writers in Tech. We have some guests of the podcast that are sitting here in the audience. And that's awesome to have you here. Check it out on Spotify. And the UX Writing Hub, as I was introduced, working with different clients about their UX writing operations and teaching people how to get into the world of UX writing. I've been in the UX writing field for the past, I would say, 5 to 6 years. My background is in UX design. I did a transition to product writing when I understood that there is not enough people that are doing it, so I wanted to do something about it. And today, I have kind of a similar message about something else. Right now, UX writing is a bit more stand out in different product teams, even though we have a long way to come to do. Just like you saw, if you've been here in the last presentation, there is way more things we should do about getting that seat at the table. But right now, we have a responsibility to use all of these different technologies to become better product people. Okay, it doesn't matter what is your title. If you're a research person, front dev, a writer, and so on, titles doesn't matter, as we learned already in the world of UX writing. Some people called it UX writing. Some people called it content design. Some people called it product writing. At the end of the day, we are the people that are responsible of the communication of the digital interface. So That's about the UX writers. And what I want to say is that titles doesn't really matter, but all of us product people, no matter what is our title, will have to have some interaction, some touch point with AI tools when we build digital experiences. That should be our goal, to build better experiences and to understand that what we have here is not more than tools. We have tools, we can integrate them with our processes, and just be, at the end of the day, just more efficient. We could do more stuff in less time. That's, if there is one thing you need to remember from this talk today, is that we can do more stuff in less time with AI if we work in a smart way, okay? Because it's scalable. So if you work in a way that is not that intelligent with this type of tools, so we scale the wrong processes, and that can create some negative effect on our products. So we don't want to go there. So today I'm going to talk about how AI can be used today in your UX process, a few AI Easter eggs, and where your focus should be from now on, in my opinion. So everything you're going to hear today is my opinion, and I might be wrong, and it's just an assumption that I have, but that's what UX is all about. Having some assumptions, work with them, see that they work, iterate, and make sure that we're improving basically our processes, our operations, our products, and so on. When I talk about your focuses, I will talk about prompt design, I will talk about AI UX ops, which is something quite new, and AI tools, which in my opinion should be the last thing you should be focused on. Everybody talking about the new shiny tools, but I remember 6-7 years ago when we had a huge fight between Sketch and Adobe XD and InVision and Figma and who's going to be the winning tool. And at the end of the day, one tool became a bit more standard, like way more standard than the others, but it doesn't matter what is the tool that you're using, as long as it's incorporate your process within it. So the fact that Figma won is because that's the best tools for product people to work. It's great for developers, it's great for designers, it's great for writers, and it's designed on the processes of those people. So don't focus on the tools. The tools will build themselves around you with the work of great UX people, by the way. Awesome. So let's take writing an error message, for example. So this is an example of a prompt. And I want you to focus real quick on the structure of the prompt as well, because this is something I am going to talk about after. Let me drink some water. So this is the prompt that we have. And hold on, let me see the slides in front of me. Great. So basically, we could tell ChatGPT to write the UX writing for us. And this is an example of a prompt. This is an example of what we came up with. I'm sure I didn't invented the wheel for you right now. All of you probably use ChatGPT to write some microcopy with different tools. And there you go. It's writing it for me. Notice that it says, certainly Yuval, here are a few examples of error message. The reason that it says certainly Yuval is because from now on you can make ChatGPT as your own personal assistant. Did you know that you could use custom instructions in ChatGPT? Raise your hand if so. Perfect. So the people that were not familiar, you can actually loop some prompts before every prompt that you submit to ChatGPT. And it asks you two different questions in the settings menu. The first question is, what would you like ChatGPT to know about you to provide better responses? So you can give a bit context about who you are, and then it will refer to you by name, and it will tell you, it will give you responses based on this context. The second question is, how would you like ChatGPT to respond? So I said to it, always keep it short, conversational, on point, opinions are fine. Imagine you are teaching someone else and guiding them through something. Because I feel like that's my personal tone when talking to people. When creating a response, ask us follow-up questions, and I tell it to generate 2 or 3 examples of what was asked, if it's not too long. So I noticed that when I write prompt to ChatGPT, have you noticed that there are some prompts that are repeatable, like generate few more examples, or Maybe you write something like write an email about blah, 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 or answer that email about that, that, and that, or write screen for this and that scenario. So you could just loop it before you actually write the prompt in that specific part of ChatGPT. Super useful. Yes, great. So, and that's about it. So you can tell it to write an error message and so on. You can actually tell it to rewrite something inside of your Figma file. There's this new tool named Frontitude. Frontitude is a Figma plugin that basically integrate with all of the microcopy and the screens that you're actually using and writing. And this is how it looks like. This is the headline about a new video course. And basically, it automatically shows you that text. After that, you give it some custom instructions, like the type of tone that you would like it to have and the length of it. And you can make it extremely customizable. And then you tell it to rewrite. And when you tell it to rewrite it, you could just press OK, and then it will automatically implement it in your Figma, in your Figma file. So that's another example of using AI tool, giving it instructions like, here, rewrite at a catchy tone, and it basically is going to rewrite it for you. OK, so that's about it. Let's take one more example about how to use AI in your user research. Right now, because we have AI, and there is a lot of data to analyze, all of us could be data researchers and UX researchers. We sit on a huge pile of data. It could be the user behavior. It could be different spreadsheets. It could be different feedback, customer support tickets that we received from our clients. And now we could basically analyze it. Let me give you an example. So we have a new prompt. I designed this prompt. I call it the pain point finder prompt, okay? And I love this illustration also, right? Such a painful pain point of the user, right? And that's the prompt. And don't worry about remembering the prompt, because I've built a prompt library that is free for all. You could just check it out. I will tell you more about it afterwards. But this is the prompt. Analyze this, and then you paste the feedback, and write to me what the main pain points of the users are. Be as specific as possible about the UI pain point. So what you can do is just to copy and paste. And this is something we call in the UX Writing Academy conversation mining. So we analyze the words made by our users to understand their pain. We can change this prompt and ask for the type of language that they use, the type of tone that they use, and then we could incorporate those insights within our own design. Let me give you an example. I just copy and pasted this very random, it's a very random feedback that I have found, and I inserted it in this specific prompt, and what I received is a list of all of the issues that this user, this specific user, had with that specific interface. So that might come in very handy. We used to have, like if we'll talk maybe 1 year ago or 2 years ago, like a lot of UX researchers, they're doing a lot of user interviews and talking to people and understanding their pain points. Right now, we could passively and not actively talking to people, we can passively by just reviewing different feedback that we find online and then find some lacks in our apps. That can be an extremely efficient process that can save you a lot of time. In my opinion, AI is doing its best work today when it comes to research. Not writing, not designing, research. Because it's really, what it do exceptionally well is to analyze data. You have a book, and it can give you a recap of that book, okay? I actually built a new website just as an experiment, as part of the experiments that I've been doing, called bookdigest.org. You can check it out if you want. I'm not going to show it to you here. Where you can see many, many, many book recaps based on the data that the AI have, just so people could see book reviews. Huge data, then it could analyze it and recap it. Let me give you another example about how you can do this process in a nicer way. So you can, in ChatGPT, you could just write this prompt, analyze this feedback, perfect, and then copy and paste. But what if we are exceptionally lazy, like myself? So you could actually use the ChatGPT plugins. So because this world is expanding and growing so fast, there are more things now. Now, I'm not inventing new news right now. Plugins are common, and they've been around for the past few months already. But you have some exceptional plugins that you could use that will help you also with your user research. Let me give you an example. So let's say that you need to analyze your user feedback, and you find a web page, and that web page have a lot of piles of data with user feedback. So the plugin named the Web Pilot can actually scrape data from a URL. And let me show you how it works. And I don't know if it will work. So imagine that there is a video here of a URL that is scraped, and then give you some fantastic insights based on the data that exists in that URL. Let's imagine it together. Pretty impressive, right? Great. Let me give you another Easter egg. So we can also use the code interpreter for UX, which is another feature of ChatGPT. Now, I know that I'm talking a lot about ChatGPT, but the reason I'm doing it, that's because it's probably the most common tool today, even though I'm not confident that it's going to be the most common tool in the next few months or years necessarily. We don't know that. We might have different solutions, like open source solutions, or different company solutions. I don't know. But the code interpreter is a tool that allows you to upload a file. So if you have huge piles of data in a PDF file, or a CSV file, or Excel file, you can actually upload it through the code interpreter. It doesn't mean that you need to know how to code. You just need to upload a file, prompt something like analyze the pain points of the users in all of the tickets here that were submitted to customer support, for example. So that's an example. And that it will analyze it for you. Now, probably some of you are a bit concerned right now about data considerations, like, okay, can I just plug my data right now inside of ChatGPT and trust it? No, you shouldn't. And I know, and this is something that was released in the time that happened in the last week, which is ChatGPT for Enterprise. I don't know almost nothing about it, but it's also new, and I know that it's supposed to solve all of the governance and the privacy solutions. So just something about that. Okay, let me give you another example. So there's another tool named UiZard, which basically helps you to create mockups. It's quite similar to Wix or Webflow, but you can just prompt it to create a user flow, for example, of a dating app for frogs, and give it some fun and funky style. And then it will actually create the screens for you that, don't you love this illustration, right? It's Midjourney, by the way. I created all of the illustrations with Midjourney. So you just give it the prompt, and then it actually gives you the editor, mockups that you can edit afterwards. So that's another example of how designers, for example, could use AI. You probably right now are a bit, imagine that it's moving right now, this meme. So you're probably a bit concerned. Prompts, tools, come on, like it takes some time and efforts to learn this kind of stuff, and I don't have time. I have some work to do. Okay, so if there are 3 things you should take from this presentation today, these are the 3 things that I want you to take. The first thing is prompt design. This is one way, in my opinion, but it's also the way that the machine and the machine learning works, that I found useful to speak to the machine. So I'm saying here, learn the art and science of crafting and iterating over a prompt, but that's the art and science. So add input, context, and examples. Those are the 3 things: input, context, and example. I will show you an example in a second. you can go through prompt libraries, so you don't have to invent the wheel every time. You can build your own prompt library. Like, okay, these are the prompts that worked exceptionally well for me, and those are the prompts that I'm going to use from now on. Or you can go to the prompt library that I've built that I will show you. And you can iterate your prompt as much as needed. Prompts are changing constantly. The way that we talk to the machine and the way that we give like a response from the machine is also changing. So we need to iterate our prompt, like any other design process. So let's take the error example, error message example, and break it down based on my input context examples methodology. So basically what we have here is input, which is write error message for a failed attempt to connect to a bank account in a peer-to-peer payment app. Context, no apologies, make it short and sweet, so you give it some context, and then you can give it also an example. It doesn't mean that it's going to work every time. It doesn't mean that you're going to have an example every time. Sometimes you just want to brainstorm with it and tell it to give examples for you. But when you use those three things, which is input, context, and examples, I noticed that the results that I'm receiving is way more accurate to what I need. And that's right for ChatGPT, but not only. That's right also for the generative visual stuff, like all of the paintings that you're seeing here that are made by Midjourney and other tools. So many folks right now are looking at prompt designers. And why is that? Because we actually have a new thing we need to do right now, which is design prompt, right? You need to, first of all, figure out how it's going to be structured, and then you have to iterate on that. So actually, you're designing prompt. Some people, by the way, I don't notice anyone called it a prompt designer, even though I believe it should be called a prompt designer. And it's not me trying to push for another title in this industry, because at the end of the day, we are all designers. We are all building digital products. But prompt designer is the right way to go, because many people call it prompt engineer, and I don't think there is nothing engineered about it. You don't write code, you don't do anything like that. You just design the prompt so it will suit your needs. And some companies and some people say that prompt engineer, which in my opinion, when they say prompt engineer, they actually mean prompt designer. What? Was it like this for a long time? Okay, so now it's okay. Great, so yes. So in my opinion, when someone say prompt engineer, they actually mean a prompt designer, and there is some demand for prompt designers right now. People still figuring this stuff out. But all of you have the capabilities right now after this talk to design your own prompts and have this skill set in your belt of tools, being prompt designers, not only UX designers, but also prompt designers. Another Easter egg, so that's the prompt library I was talking about, prompt.uxwritingapp.com. It's still light. All of the different prompts that I've showed you today are in this library. You can also add your own. It's open source. None, you don't pay for anything. You don't even have to put your data inside of it, nothing. You can just use it. And this is how it looks like, super basic stuff. You could just choose your topic. You have UX design, UX research, UX writing. I added also accessibility as well. And I'm adding some more topics right now, so feel free to add as well. And let's take, for example, the pain point finder. So you click it, and then you just copy the prompt, put it in ChatGPT, voila, that's it. So you could use the prompt library. Let me give you few more examples, and that's about it. So you can also generate an icon, for example, with AI, using the methodology I've just talked with you about, which is the input context example. With visual stuff, it looks a little bit different. So, for example, the input is life insurance illustration, context, high-tech company illustration, dribble, white background. So that's like what I said to it. Prompt can be very weird sometimes, especially with the visual stuff. You can say something like, I don't know, flat icon style. You can give it a lot of different context, and it will generate completely different things. And you can play around with it. This is something I used, as I said before, Midjourney. That's another tool that helped me to do that. There is another tool that were created last week by people that came outside of Google, named Ideum, something like that. works the same way. So you can check it out, and it's free. So if you want access to it, you can just send me an email, LinkedIn message, and I will just send you a link. I'm not affiliated with them or anything like that. So there are many, many new tools that are showing up, but that's my methodology for the visual aspect. So yeah, that's how I generate an icon. Notice that a lot of time you can give it the exact same context and just change the input. And then you can just have consistent visual language. If you keep it with the same context and just change the input, for example, life insurance, and then pet insurance. So I'm not sure it's the best illustration right now, but they have at least the same visual language, the same visual tone. And that's helpful when you build some visual assets for your UI or for a marketing website and so on. So let me give you the last Easter egg of the day, which is creating a set of illustrations for UI instead of going to stock images and stock footages and so on. So let's say, for example, this is your input, icon of camera for UI, context, clean design, white background, outline only. Mentioning that it's supposed to have white background is extremely important because it's supposed to give you some help afterwards when you would like to convert it to an actual file that you'll have in your design file. So here I told it to do it in the style of material design, and here 90s style, and in the last one, mobile game style. Then you can upload your image to remove image background. I'm sure that, by the way, at some point we will have all of these things struck in the exact same tool, but for now it's 4 different tools. So the first one is Midjourney, second one is remove background, remove.background, that's the name of the tool. Then you use it to remove your background, and then you have a PNG file, backgroundless. Then there's an issue because it's not scalable, because it's not a vector, it's a PNG. So what you can do about it, you can go to the PNG to SVG converter, and then you could actually have it in your Figma file. So look at me, I'm a vector now. So that's how you can actually create a set of vectors in your Figma file. Okay, so that's one more example, and one last Easter egg. Let's talk about the 2 last focuses that I would like you to have, and that's about it. So the second thing after prompt design, so we learned the basics of prompt design. The second thing is AI UX Ops. Oh, another term, another thing we should, another jargon, sounds jargon, but basically like we have content ops, like we have DevOps, like we have other type of ops. So I believe that we should have AI UX Ops, and in general in companies AI Ops, which would be maybe a position of a person that would just align all of the people in the company about how to implement this type of AI tools in their processes, whether if they're front-end developers, UX designers, UX writers, product managers, and so on. And every company should have this type of component, this type of person, or at least person in charge in their company. So my tips would be for that person, in case you decided that from now on it will be you. So make sure that someone is in charge of that in your company. And I think if you'll take that responsibility, it will be extremely valuable for you in the long term. Create practical in-house workshops and training. So in order to create alignment, like in every type of ops, we need to make sure that it's understandable and everybody are actually implementing it in their process. And have one focus in mind: better experience for the user. And why is that? Because we tend to get lost with the ocean of different technologies and tools. I mentioned it before in this talk today, but I will repeat it because I think it's important. Focus on the user experience. Focus on your users, okay? Once you figure out something, an operation that works well for your users, use it at scale. Implement it in many different teams, okay? Test it first, implement it later. And the last focus is the AI tools. Yes, as the AI UX Ops person or the AI Ops person, you should also be in charge of understanding what are the trends and what are the tools and picking the right tool for the right use case. It's important. We want to save time at the end of the day. So tips for picking the right tools, read case studies, there are plenty of them and piling up. Many people are experimenting right now and testing with it. Go through different tools libraries such as futuretools.io. Myself, I'm using also Twitter to stay up to date, Reddit to stay up to date. What else? Facebook groups could be a good place for it. At least in Israel, it's very common to do it with all of those Midjourney and generative visual stuff. And experiment a lot. I'm very passionate about it. I really like to experiment with that type of stuff. I think it's the future. But once you understand that it actually works and it can actually help you and save you a lot of time and efforts, even 80% or 70%, and then you need to iterate on that and create the other 20%. So it's kind of mind-blowing. You can do a lot of crazy stuff with it. So experiment a lot, have fun with it. And that's about it. So I have a free AI for UX course, completely free. You can scan it, you can check it out. This is my robot wave goodbye wool style. This is my email, this is my name. If you have one takeaway from this talk today, add me on LinkedIn, tag me, write a post about it, let me know what's your take about everything we talked about today. If you have questions, ask me. If you want access to the slides, I will send it over. Just send me a message. And I wish all of you the best of luck because we will need it. We would need it. Thank you.
Thank you, bravo. Do you have any questions to Yuval? Yeah, many questions, I guess. The first one here.
Julia.
Hi, Yuval. A great presentation. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. It's great that you're talking about AI. And I'm a UX writer myself. I tend to use ChatGPT to just get rid of the writer's block or generate ideas. But sometimes at the end of the day, I feel like it kills my creativity. I'm not sure if anybody else agrees with that, but I'm curious about your point and your stand on this, whether or not it kills creativity at the end of the day for people who work with text on a daily basis.
So that's a very good question. We can also say that obviously about all of the illustrations that it produces and the pictures that it produces. At the end of the day, if we kind of work in a factory right now that needs to create products. And at the end of the day, it's important to be creative, and I think we must be creative, especially with AI. That's why, by the way, I believe it's not going to replace us, because if it could replace us, so we wouldn't need to have creative people anymore. So using it in addition to our creativity, like doing different experiments, that's the way I think we should use it. I know about myself that a lot of time as a writer, I had what I call the blank canvas syndrome, where I just couldn't think about anything. So now it's way easier for me to create stuff when I just spit it as a prompt, and then I have like the start of a discussion. But in addition to that, it might also create very bad outcome and not creative work. What I'm trying to say is that the problem with AI is that it's scalable. So if you have like bad creativity or bad type of writing, it's going to just scale and do a very bad job. So in my opinion, people that are not going to be creative are not going to be able to use this type of tools, because just going to scale their uncreativity and just create bad outcome, bad results. But that's my take. Maybe we will have one day a creative AI that will also, you know, do that type of stuff, and we will have to figure out how to work with that type of tools. I don't know, but I think it can enhance creativity rather than replace creativity. That's my take.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Come on, guys. Come on. There is another one left. Kalina.
Hey, Kalina, what's up?
Hey, thank you for the talk. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, creativity is one thing, super important points. I'm happy we brought that up. And consistency is another. So I was thinking about feeding the content style guides into our AI engine. And what is your experience with that? How can we avoid creating inconsistencies through AI? I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about this.
So I see more and more tools and processes, just like the one I've showed with Frontitude, where you could incorporate some kind of a content style guide and then make it generate some outcome based on that style guide. And the thing about style guide is that you need also to keep it up to date all the time. So you can creatively update your content style guide, and then it will incorporate it in a better way. But based on my experience, I haven't found a successful use case yet of AI that incorporate the content style guide and like write it for me, because there are so many moving parts that it can't grasp yet, like the context in the user journey and maybe that specific user persona in that specific moment, that I found the outcome to be a bit too generic. But I think we will get there one day. You have different tools right now, like I heard about Writer also, which help enterprises to do that kind of stuff. Myself, I don't have a lot of successful experience with incorporate an up-to-date style guide and make it right for me, for example. But it can generate some successful ideas that you could iterate and use, maybe. That's my 2 cents. Hope it was helpful. Anyone else?
There's one more.
Hi, Yuval. I've got one question about how easy is to have consistency in all messages you have inside the application, for example. So when you have a kind of product and all we want to have is like the same way of speaking and at the beginning, at the end. So every time we see that this is the same person talking to us. So how easy it is, and it needs some kind of special prompts, or how we define it?
So the way I found to create consistency with the visual and also the writing aspect of the outcome of AI is to find context that I think provide me good results. For example, like I've showed in the insurance app illustrations. So I found a very specific way to give it context and then just change the subject every time. And then it helped me to create semi-consistent consistent visual. But that type of methodology can help you to create also consistent text as well. And it's all matter of designing a prompt that works for you and help you to create that consistent. And it's very individual. Every person probably here is going to design different type of prompts that will work better for them. So we will have to test and experiment until you'll find that consistent context, and then just keep loop it. You can even, if you work with Frontitude, build a custom tone and then add the context there. If you work with ChatGPT, you could do the custom instructions that I've showed you before, and then just keep your prompt over there. It will make sure to loop that prompt every time you write something. So you wouldn't have even to copy and paste and just reuse it again and again.